Husband dumped his blind wife after she went bankrupt, unaware of her $50 million lottery ticket. She gave him her world, her sightless trust, her unwavering love, her strength in silence. But when bankruptcy stripped away their comfort, the man who once swore, for better or worse, showed his true face. "You're nothing but a blind burden," he spat, waving the divorce papers like a victory flag. "I won't chain myself to failure. Find your way alone in the dark." Instead of protection, he offered cruelty. Instead of compassion, he delivered humiliation. At her lowest hour, abandoned and heartbroken, he walked away with another woman, believing he had discarded a useless wife. But what he didn't know was that hidden in her trembling hands lay a lottery ticket worth $50 million, a silent fortune that would one day rewrite her destiny. Sometimes the ones you discard are the very ones destined to rise beyond your reach. Sometimes the shadow you mock becomes the fire that consumes your pride. This is a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimate revenge. A story where cruelty meets justice, and a blind woman becomes the light her betrayer can never escape. At first glance, their marriage looked perfect. Friends called them the golden couple. Matthew Bennett, tall and ambitious, walked proudly into every gathering with Emily, his graceful wife, at his side. She was radiant, soft-spoken, and always smiling. To outsiders, he was a successful businessman, and she was his devoted partner. But behind closed doors, the truth was different. Emily worked 2 jobs, early mornings at a bakery and late nights stitching clothes at home, just to cover their growing bills. Matthew had grand ideas, but no discipline. He loved luxury, nights out with friends, and showing off, but he hated hard work. When his ventures failed, it was Emily who quietly stepped in, handing over her small savings, pawning her jewelry, and taking extra shifts to keep them afloat. "You're my rock," Matthew would say, kissing her cheek, but deep down she knew those words carried weight she alone bore. He never asked how she felt about the exhaustion, the constant pressure, the loneliness of carrying everything on her shoulders. To Emily, love meant sacrifice. To Matthew, love meant convenience. One evening, Emily dragged herself home after 12 hours at the bakery. Her hands were raw from kneading dough, her eyes heavy from lack of sleep. She found Matthew sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone. The table was covered with unopened bills. "Matt, we need to talk," she said softly, setting down her bag. "The landlord gave us another notice. If we don't pay rent soon—" He cut her off, waving his hand. "Relax, Em. I'm meeting a guy tomorrow about a new business deal. Just trust me, okay?" Her heart sank. She had heard those words too many times. "But how will we cover the bills now? I can ask Mrs. Turner for extra shifts." He smiled, pulling her close. "That's why I love you. You always find a way. Don't worry, babe. I'll make it big soon. Then you'll never have to work another day in your life." It sounded sweet, but Emily knew the truth. His dreams were built on her sweat. That night after he fell asleep, she sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the stack of bills. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She wanted to believe in him, to trust his words, but the imbalance gnawed at her. How much longer could she hold everything together? She whispered into the silence, "I just want us to be happy. Why does love feel so heavy?" The clock ticked past midnight. Emily rubbed her tired eyes, not knowing that soon her world would collapse in ways she could never imagine. Because tomorrow tragedy would come knocking, and the price of her devotion would be blindness. The morning began like any other. Emily rose early, slipping quietly out of bed so Matthew could sleep. She tied her apron and hurried to the bakery, her body heavy with exhaustion, but her heart determined to keep pushing. She whispered to herself, "Just a little longer. Things will get better." By noon, she was racing between shelves, handing out bread to impatient customers. The shop buzzed with noise, and Emily hardly noticed the flickering lights overhead. But outside, the sky darkened, winds rising with unusual force. A storm was coming. When her shift ended, she packed the unsold loaves into a box for neighbors who often went hungry. With the box balanced in her arms, she stepped onto the wet street. The rain was sharp, the air heavy. She pulled her coat tighter and hurried toward the bus stop. Suddenly, screeching tires tore through the storm's roar. Emily froze. A delivery truck swerved, its headlights blinding, its horns screaming. In a split second, everything changed. The box of bread flew from her hands. The impact slammed her onto the pavement. Shards of glass rained down as the truck clipped a streetlight, sparks showering the ground. Pain seared through her skull. Then, darkness. When Emily woke hours later, she was in a hospital bed, her head bandaged, the world around her silent, except for beeping monitors. Panic set in. She tried to blink, but all she saw was black. Her voice cracked. "Doctor, I can't see. Please, why can't I see?" The doctor's expression was heavy with sorrow. "Emily, the accident caused severe trauma. The damage to your eyes is irreversible. I'm sorry, you're blind." The words crushed her. She clutched the bed sheets, shaking. Tears spilled though she could not see them. Blind? Forever? How will I work? How will I live? The door burst open. Matthew entered, his face pale. For a moment he looked concerned, but it quickly faded into irritation. "So it's true," he muttered, glancing at the doctor. "She can't see?" The doctor nodded. "She will need rehabilitation, support, and patience. This is a life-altering condition." Emily reached out, her trembling hands searching. "Matt, I need you. Please don't leave me." He stiffened. For the first time she felt him hesitate before taking her hand. His silence cut deeper than the accident itself. The days that followed were a blur of fear and vulnerability. Nurses helped her eat, bathe, and walk, while Matthew came less and less. Bills piled up, and whispers filled the hospital hallways about unpaid balances. Friends who once smiled at her door were suddenly too busy. Her world shrank into a fragile support system of strangers' kindness, while the man she trusted most began to slip away. One night as she lay in the dark, Matthew's voice pierced her heart. "I can't do this, Em. I didn't sign up for a blind wife. You're dead weight now." Her breath caught. The man she loved, the one she sacrificed everything for, was already preparing to abandon her. The hospital discharged Emily with nothing more than a white cane and a list of appointments she could no longer afford. Her body was weak, her world dark, but she still clung to hope that Matthew would stay by her side. She told herself, "He just needs time. He's shocked. He'll come around." But the reality was harsher. Back at their small apartment, Matthew's frustration grew sharper with each passing day. He no longer kissed her forehead or held her hand. Instead, he sighed loudly whenever she struggled to find the edge of the couch, or knocked over a glass trying to pour water. "Do you have to stumble around like that?" he snapped one evening as she bumped into the coffee table. "You're making the place a mess." Emily's lips trembled. "I'm still learning." "Matt, if you could just guide me." "I don't have time to babysit you," he muttered, grabbing his jacket. Soon his absences stretched longer. He claimed to be networking or meeting investors, but Emily could smell perfume on his shirts that wasn't hers. Meanwhile, the financial pressure tightened around her like a noose. Without her bakery shifts, their income vanished. Creditors called daily, their voices cold. "Mrs. Bennett, your account is overdue. When can we expect payment?" She stammered apologies, fumbling with numbers she couldn't see, while Matthew shrugged off the responsibility. "Just tell them you'll pay later," he said, scrolling through his phone. "But with what?" Emily whispered. Silence. The rent went unpaid. The electricity flickered. Neighbors who once greeted Emily now whispered as she passed, her cane tapping the pavement. "Poor thing. Her husband won't last. She's finished." Their pity cut her deeper than their gossip. One afternoon she sat alone on the couch, clutching the last unopened bill. Her fingers traced the paper edges, though her eyes could not read them. A tear slipped down her cheek. "How did I become a burden overnight? I gave him everything. Why does he treat me like nothing?" That night Matthew stumbled in smelling of alcohol. She reached for him, desperate for comfort. "Matt, please, just talk to me. I'm scared." He shoved her hand away. "You think you're the only one with problems? You're dragging me down, Em. I can't live like this." Her heart shattered. For the first time she realized she was utterly alone, even in her own marriage. The next morning she woke to silence. Matthew was gone. No note, no explanation, just the faint echo of a slammed door. Emily sat at the kitchen table, clutching her cane. listening to the emptiness around her. Her chest tightened as the truth settled in. She had lost not just her sight, but also the man she once trusted with her life. And though she didn't know it yet, his betrayal was only beginning. Emily's world had grown painfully small, four walls, silence, and the steady tap of her cane against worn wooden floors. But just when she thought everyone had abandoned her, a familiar voice reappeared. Sophie, her old college friend. "Emily, it's me," Sophie said warmly, knocking lightly on the door. "I heard about the accident. I couldn't just stay away." Emily's heart lifted. She hadn't heard genuine kindness in weeks. Sophie hugged her, the scent of lavender filling the air. "You look thinner," Sophie whispered. "Don't worry, I'll help you through this." For a moment, Emily believed her. Sophie began visiting often, bringing groceries, cleaning the apartment, even reading bills aloud. Emily clung to her presence like a lifeline. "You're a blessing," she told her one evening. "I don't know what I'd do without you." But beneath Sophie's smile lurked envy. She had always admired Emily's grace, Matthew's attention, and the life they shared. Now seeing Emily blind and broken, Sophie's pity twisted into something darker, an opportunity. One evening as Emily rested on the couch, Sophie's tone shifted. "Matt's been coming to see me," she said softly. Emily sat up, confused. "What do you mean?" Sophie hesitated, then sighed. "He's hurting too, Em. He feels trapped. He told me he still cares for you, but he needs someone who understands him." Emily's stomach churned. "You mean you?" Sophie didn't deny it. She touched Emily's hand gently. "I didn't plan this, I swear. But Matt and we connect. Still, I promise I'll always be here for you." Emily snatched her hand back. The betrayal stung worse than the accident itself. Her husband had drifted away, but her closest friend had crossed the line. Yet Emily's loneliness made her desperate. She swallowed the pain and whispered, "If he's happy with you, then maybe it's what he needs." Sophie smiled faintly, though Emily couldn't see it. In that moment, Sophie felt victorious, envy disguised as compassion. She thought she had taken everything Emily had left. But late that night, Emily sat awake, clutching her cane, trembling. Her trust had been misplaced. The friend she welcomed into her broken world had become another dagger in her back. The next day, Matthew appeared at the apartment for the first time in weeks. His voice was cold but smug. "I came to get some of my things. Sophie's waiting for me downstairs." Emily's heart cracked. "You're with her now?" "My own friend?" He laughed bitterly. "At least she doesn't need babysitting." Her tears fell hot and fast. She turned her face toward the wall, unwilling to let him see her break. As the door slammed shut behind him, the sound of Sophie's laughter drifted up from the street. Emily's trembling hands gripped the edge of the table. For the first time, a spark of anger flared inside her. They thought she was helpless. They thought she had nothing left. They were wrong. The air was heavy the night Matthew finally ended it. Emily sat on the edge of their bed, cane by her side, waiting for him to return from yet another business meeting. When the door creaked open past midnight, she inhaled sharply, praying he had come to talk, to listen, to stay. Instead, she heard Sophie's voice giggling faintly behind him. Emily's chest tightened. "Matt? You brought her here?" Matthew's footsteps dragged across the floor. "Relax. She's just waiting outside." His tone was sharp, unapologetic. "I'm not hiding anything anymore, Em. It's over between us." Her heart pounded. "Over? You promised me forever. For better or worse. How can you throw it all away when I need you most?" He tossed a stack of papers onto the bed. The crisp sound of legal documents sliced through the silence. "These are divorce papers. Sign them, and make it easy on both of us." Emily's trembling hands reached out, brushing against the rough edges. You're divorcing me now? When I've lost my sight? When I have nothing?" Matthew scoffed. "Exactly. You're nothing now. I can't drag dead weight for the rest of my life. Sophie makes me feel alive. You make me feel trapped." The words struck like knives. Emily bit her lip until it bled, refusing to let her sobs spill. "So all my sacrifices meant nothing? All the nights I worked, the dreams I gave up for you?" He leaned close, his voice low and cruel. You should have known love doesn't pay bills. I need a partner who can give me more, not drain me. You're blind, broke, and useless. What man would want that? The cruelty was unbearable. She clutched her cane like a lifeline, her tears soaking the papers she could not read. Matthew straightened, indifferent. Sophie's waiting. Sign them when you're ready. I'll send someone to pick them up. Emily whispered, her voice breaking. Matt, please don't do this. But he was already walking away. His shoes clicked against the floor, steady and cold. The door opened, and Sophie's laughter rose again, cruel and mocking. Together they left, the sound of their footsteps fading into the night. The silence afterward was suffocating. Emily curled into herself, shaking, her body racked with sobs. She replayed his vows in her mind. For better, for worse, in sickness and in health. Broken words that now mocked her pain. Her marriage was not just ending. It had been shattered by betrayal, humiliation, and abandonment. In that moment, lying alone in darkness, she thought she had reached the end of her story. But the universe had other plans. For hidden in her purse, untouched for weeks, was a small folded lottery ticket. A ticket that would soon rewrite her destiny. Emily didn't move for hours after Matthew left. The papers lay crumpled on the bed, damp with her tears. The apartment was silent, but her mind screamed. She replayed his words, "You're blind, broke, and useless," until they burned like fire in her chest. The despair was suffocating. She thought of the bakery, her independence, her laughter before the accident. It all felt like another life. Now she stumbled in the dark, abandoned by the man she gave everything for. Her phone buzzed suddenly on the nightstand. With trembling hands, she fumbled for it, pressing it to her ear. "Emmy, it's Mom," came the gentle voice. Emily broke instantly. "Mom," she whispered through sobs. "He left me. He left me for Sophie. I can't see. I can't work. I can't do anything. I'm useless." Her mother's voice grew firm, though heavy with love. "Don't you ever call yourself that. You are my daughter, the same girl who stood tall through every storm life threw at her. Blindness doesn't erase your worth." Emily shook her head, gripping the phone tighter. "But Mom, everything's gone. He said I'm nothing." "Then he never deserved you," her mother said sharply. "Listen to me, Emmy. A man who abandons you in darkness was never your light. You may feel broken now, but broken things can still shine." Emily swallowed hard. A flicker of warmth stirred inside her. "But how? I can't even walk across the room without falling." "Then start small," her mother urged. "Step by step. You're not alone. You have me, and you have the strength God placed in you. Don't let his cruelty define your future." For the first time in weeks, Emily took a deep breath. Her mother's words pressed against the cracks in her heart, mending them just enough to stand. After their call ended, Emily sat in silence, clutching her cane. She replayed her mother's voice. "Blindness doesn't erase your worth." The despair was still there, but now it was met with something new, a flicker of defiance. That night she stood slowly, feeling her way across the room. Her hand brushed the edge of her purse. She pulled it closer, fingers searching the contents. There, folded between old receipts, was the forgotten lottery ticket she had bought weeks before the accident. She held it in her hand, smiling faintly through tears. "Maybe this is nothing, but maybe, just maybe, it's a sign I'm not finished yet." Her heart beat faster. For the first time, Emily whispered, not in defeat, but in challenge. "I will not die in this darkness." The next morning, Emily clutched the small folded lottery ticket in her trembling hands. Her heart raced as she thought of her mother's words. Broken things can still shine. She couldn't see the numbers, but something inside told her this ticket mattered. She dialed the state lottery hotline with shaky fingers, praying she wasn't clinging to false hope. A cheerful voice answered, "Please enter your ticket number." Emily hesitated. I'm blind. Could someone read it for me?" The clerk paused kindly. "Ma'am, if you can give me the numbers, I'll check for you." Emily fumbled for her phone's voice recorder, whispering the numbers as best she could, replaying them until she was sure. She read them aloud, her voice quivering. There was silence on the line. Then the clerk gasped. Ma'am, congratulations. You've won. $50 million. Emily's knees buckled. She sank onto the couch, the phone slipping from her hand. Her whole body shook as tears streamed down her face. 50 million? It didn't feel real. In the darkness of her blindness, light had broken through. But then fear crept in. If Matthew finds out, if Sophie knows, she shivered. They would devour her fortune in days. She needed protection, and fast. That's when she remembered Mr. Lawson, the family lawyer her late uncle once trusted. With trembling resolve, she called his office. Emily Bennett, came the warm professional voice. It's been years. How can I help you? Her words tumbled out. Mr. Lawson, I think I've won the lottery, but I can't tell anyone, especially not Matthew. Lawson was silent, then spoke with gravity. If what you say is true, secrecy is your greatest shield. Do not disclose this to anyone. Not friends, not neighbors, not even family until we secure it. We'll meet privately. He arranged a discreet car to pick her up the next day. When she arrived at his office, his assistant gently guided her inside. Lawson confirmed the win officially. Emily's hands shook as he read the figures aloud. $50,000. You're a wealthy woman now, Emily, he said, but wealth attracts wolves. We'll create a trust, layer protections, and ensure your identity is shielded. No one, especially your husband, must know. Emily exhaled, relief washing over her. For the first time since losing her sight, she felt a sense of power. A hidden blessing had changed everything. Still, she whispered, Why me? Why now? Lawson leaned forward. Because destiny never forgets the ones who suffer in silence. This is your turning point. Handle it with wisdom, and you'll rebuild more than your life. You'll build a legacy. Emily nodded slowly. Beneath the fear, cautious hope flickered. She was no longer the abandoned, blind woman Matthew called useless. She was a woman carrying a secret fortune, a destiny too powerful to be crushed. And while Matthew laughed in Sophie's arms, Emily quietly prepared for a future he could never touch. It had been weeks since Matthew walked out with Sophie, leaving Emily broken. Now, armed with a secret only she and her lawyer knew, Emily was learning to stand a little taller. Her cane still tapped uncertainly across the floor, but her spirit was stronger. One afternoon, a knock rattled the door. Emily's chest tightened. She wasn't expecting anyone. Em, it's me. Open up. Her heart froze. Matthew. She gripped her cane tightly, every muscle tense. Slowly, she opened the door. His cologne hit her first. Familiar, but now tainted with betrayal. Matt, she whispered. He stepped in quickly, his voice syrupy sweet. I've missed you, babe. Sophie. Well, she wasn't what I thought. I realize now you're the only one who ever truly loved me. Emily's jaw clenched. You left me when I needed you most. You called me useless. He sighed dramatically. I didn't mean it. I was angry, scared. You know me. I say stupid things. But I can't live without you, Em. He touched her arm gently, trying to guide her toward the couch. She stiffened. Don't. He chuckled lightly, masking frustration. Come on, don't be like that. I've been under a lot of pressure. Business is tough. Bills, you know how it is. But if we get back together, we can rebuild. Together. Emily's fingers tightened around her cane. Inside, her blood boiled. He wasn't here for love. He was circling like a vulture, sensing something had changed. Matt, she said firmly, her voice steady, you didn't come back because of love. You came because you lost Sophie. And maybe because you think I still have something left to give. He blinked, caught off guard. What? No. How could you think that? You gaslit me for years, Emily continued, her voice rising. You made me believe I was nothing without you, but I see you clearer now than ever, even without my eyes. He smirked nervously, trying to regain control. Em, you're just emotional. You don't know what you're saying. I forgive you for lashing out. I'm here to make things right. Her lips curled into a bitter smile. No, Matt, I forgive myself for loving a man who never valued me. I don't need you to make things right. I'll make them right on my own. The words stunned him. For the first time, his manipulation failed. He leaned closer, whispering urgently. Emily, are you hiding something from me? Did something happen? Her heart raced, but she kept her face calm. Yes, something did happen. I found my strength, and it doesn't include you. The silence that followed was heavy. Matthew's mask cracked. His voice turned sharp. You'll regret this. You think you can survive without me? You're blind, Em. You need me. Emily lifted her chin. No, Matt. You need me. And that's what scares you most. His fist clenched. Without another word, he stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Emily stood in the darkness, her cane steady in her hand. For the first time, she felt powerful. She had drawn a boundary and reclaimed her agency. Days passed after Matthew's stormy visit, but Emily's heart remained steady. She replayed her words over and over. I found my strength, and it doesn't include you. They gave her courage, but Matthew wasn't finished. One rainy afternoon, another knock echoed at the door. Emily hesitated. When she opened it, Matthew stood there holding a bouquet of roses. His eyes carried a practiced softness, his lips curled into a rehearsed smile. Em, he whispered, handing her the flowers. I came to say I'm sorry, truly sorry. Emily's fingers brushed the petals. They smelled sweet, but her instinct screamed of poison hidden in the fragrance. He guided her gently to the couch. I've been thinking about us. I was selfish, cruel. I let Sophie come between us, but she's gone now. All I want is you. Emily's voice trembled, though she stayed firm. You left me when I was at my lowest. You called me worthless. He clasped her hands dramatically. I didn't mean it. I was scared. I was drowning in debt, in failure. But I know now, you're my anchor. I can't live without you. Emily tilted her head. She could hear the desperation behind his performance. So what do you want from me, Matthew? His tone shifted slightly, just enough to reveal his greed. I just need to know you're okay financially. I lie awake at night worried about how you're surviving. Did you come into any money? Maybe some insurance payout, or... He stopped, feigning innocence. Emily's stomach tightened. He was probing. Somehow he sensed a change. I manage, she said calmly. He leaned closer, pressing. Come on, Em. We're still married technically. We should share everything. If you've got something hidden away, we can use it to rebuild. Think about it. We could start fresh. Big house, no more worries. I'd take care of you. She pulled her hands away sharply. You'd take care of yourself. That's what this is about. His voice grew sharp. Don't twist my words. I'm trying to make amends here. Emily shook her head slowly. No, you're trying to dig for gold. But I'm not a fool anymore, Matthew. I've learned the hard way. Your apologies always come with a price tag. Silence stretched between them. His mask slipped and bitterness flickered in his eyes. You'll regret pushing me away, Em. One day you'll realize I was the only one who truly cared. Emily stood, cane steady in her grip. Her voice was calm, resolute. I already realized the truth. You cared only when it benefited you, and I won't let greed be the chain that binds me again. Matthew slammed his fist on the table, frustration boiling over. But Emily didn't flinch. Her guarded heart was stronger than his theatrics. As he stormed out once more, Emily whispered to herself, not even $50 million could buy back my trust. He didn't know it, but she had grown wiser and untouchable. Emily's apartment was quiet again after Matthew's storm of greed. But this time, the silence didn't swallow her. She was learning to stand taller, to move with purpose even in darkness. Still, loneliness weighed heavily. Then came a knock, gentler, uncertain. Em, it's Daniel. Remember me? Her heart skipped. Daniel was her childhood friend, the boy from next door who used to race her down the street and share candy under the oak tree. Years had passed, but his voice was still warm, steady. She smiled faintly. Daniel, I didn't think you'd remember me. Remember you. Em, I never forgot you. He stepped inside, his boots carrying the smell of fresh earth. He worked in deliveries now, driving trucks, moving goods across town. I heard what happened. I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner. Emily's throat tightened. Everyone left when things got hard. Even Matthew. Daniel sat across from her. I'm not Matthew. His tone was gentle but firm. For the first time in a long while, Emily felt safe. He didn't pity her. He didn't prod her for secrets. He simply asked, "What do you need?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I just need someone to believe in me again." Daniel leaned forward. "Then believe this. You are not broken. You're stronger than anyone I know. If you could carry Matthew's world on your shoulders, you can rebuild your own, and I'll help however I can." His words lit something inside her. For so long, she had been surrounded by betrayal and cruelty. Daniel's loyalty felt like water to parched soil. The very next week, he started showing up with small acts of kindness, groceries delivered without her asking, boxes arranged neatly so she could navigate easily. He even built her a simple labeling system, raised dots on containers so she could tell sugar from salt. "You don't have to do all this," Emily protested one day. He shrugged. "It's not about what I have to do. It's about what you deserve." Slowly, neighbors noticed the changes. Emily, once whispered about as a pitiful blind woman, now walked more confidently with her cane, guided sometimes by Daniel's steady hand. Her dignity, once trampled, began to bloom again. One neighbor murmured, "She looks stronger, happier." Another added, "That boy, he's helping her. Maybe she's not as helpless as we thought." Whispers shifted. Pity turned into respect. One evening, as Daniel packed up to leave, Emily touched his arm. "Thank you. You've done more for me than Matthew ever did. You remind me I still matter." Daniel smiled softly. "You always mattered, Em. You just needed someone to remind you." That night, lying in bed, Emily realized something profound. For the first time since her accident, she felt her dignity returning, not because of wealth, not because of revenge, but because someone saw her worth without conditions. And deep down, she knew this was just the seed. A community, a movement, even a legacy could grow from this spark of kindness. Morning light streamed faintly through the curtains, though Emily could no longer see it. What she felt instead was different, a shift inside her. With Daniel's steady encouragement and Mr. Lawson's careful guidance, the pieces of her shattered life were beginning to align. Emily decided she wouldn't live in silence anymore. She wanted purpose, something that gave her days meaning. It began with one small step. She set up a sewing machine on the kitchen table, the same one she had used before the accident. At first, her fingers shook as she felt the threads and fabric. But Daniel was there, labeling the spools with textured markers so she could tell each color by touch. "You've got this," he encouraged. "Close your eyes, trust your hands." She smiled faintly. "They're already closed." He laughed, and for the first time she laughed too. That day she finished stitching a simple scarf. It wasn't perfect, crooked seams and uneven folds, but it was hers. A win, however small. She held it to her chest, whispering, "I can still create." Momentum grew. With Lawson's help, she used part of her hidden fortune carefully, setting up a quiet foundation that Daniel fronted for her. Through it, she bought better equipment, hired a caregiver to assist with daily tasks, and slowly reopened her old craft line online. But this time, anonymously. Customers didn't know the woman behind the products was blind. They only saw the quality, the heart in the work. Soon orders trickled in, then more. Each package Daniel delivered carried not just fabric, but a piece of Emily's resilience. The community began to notice. "Her work is back," a neighbor whispered. "Even better than before." Another added, "Blind or not, she's unstoppable." Every compliment restored Emily's confidence. One evening, Daniel leaned against the counter, watching her hands move gracefully over the sewing machine. "You don't even realize it, do you? You're building something bigger than yourself." Emily paused. "I just want to feel useful again." "You're more than useful," he said softly. "You're inspiring. You're showing everyone that darkness doesn't end a life. It can start a new one." Her heart warmed. For years, Matthew made her feel small, dependent. Now Daniel's words and her own perseverance made her feel powerful. Together they became a quiet team, Emily creating, Daniel delivering, Lawson protecting. Step by step, her life gained momentum, and yet in the distance, Matthew circled like a wolf. He heard whispers of Emily's resilience, saw neighbors nodding at her with respect, and it gnawed at him. He couldn't understand how she was rising without him. One night, as Emily finished her orders, she heard a sharp knock at the door. Daniel wasn't due until morning. Her chest tightened. She gripped her cane. "Emily," came Matthew's voice, cold and urgent. "We need to talk." Matthew's voice outside the door rattled Emily, but she didn't open it. Not this time. Instead, she waited until his footsteps faded, then sat quietly with her thoughts. She realized something important. Her fortune wasn't meant to sit untouched. It could do more than protect her. It could heal others who had been crushed, just like her. The next morning, she called Mr. Lawson. "I want to set up a giving fund," she said firmly, "but it has to be anonymous. No one can know it's me." Lawson's tone carried respect. "Of course. How would you like the money used?" Emily thought of the hospital wards, of mothers she heard weeping through thin curtains, of neighbors whose children went hungry. Single parents, families on the edge, people everyone else overlooks. If my pain bought me $50 million, then their pain deserves hope. And so it began. Quietly, Lawson arranged everything. Rent was paid off for struggling families. Groceries appeared at the doors of the hungry. Hospital bills vanished overnight for mothers who had been praying for miracles. Each gift came with no name attached, only the freedom to breathe again. Emily never saw their faces, but she heard the echoes through Daniel. As he delivered her fabric orders, neighbors whispered in awe. "Someone's paying off debts in this neighborhood. Anonymous donations, can you believe it? Whoever it is, they're changing lives." Daniel returned one evening, his eyes shining. "Em, you won't believe this. Mrs. Carter, you remember her. Her son's surgery was paid in full. She cried in my arms, thanking God for whoever saved her boy." Emily's lips curved into a small smile. That's what money should do. Not destroy lives like Matthew wanted, but restore them. Her generosity healed others, but it also healed something in herself. Each act of giving stitched her brokenness back together. She no longer felt like a victim trapped in darkness. She was a steward of hope, and that gave her meaning. One night, Emily sat at her sewing table, her fingers running across the scarf she had made. She whispered to herself, "I thought blindness was the end of my life, but maybe it was the beginning of something greater." But even as lives were being transformed by her anonymous kindness, Matthew's bitterness grew. He saw the neighborhood buzzing, the air of gratitude, and he couldn't stand it. He began to wonder, who's behind all this money? Could it be Emily? He started watching her more closely, lurking near her building, trying to catch a clue. And one evening, as Emily closed her purse after a quiet meeting with Lawson, Matthew's shadow lingered nearby, suspicion burning in his eyes. Emily's anonymous giving was changing lives quietly, but Lawson soon suggested something more. "Emily," he said during one of their private meetings, "you've already restored countless families, but what if you built something lasting? A foundation that gives second chances, not just money, but dignity." Her fingers traced the edge of her cane as she thought. A place where the forgotten can find hope, where people like me, overlooked, abandoned, are given another shot. Her heart swelled. Yes, that was her mission. Within months, with Lawson's guidance and Daniel's constant support, the New Dawn Foundation was born. Its focus was clear: empowering single parents, training marginalized workers, and offering small business grants for those cast aside by society. Emily insisted her name remain hidden at first, but she poured her soul into every detail. Daniel became her right hand, coordinating deliveries and training new hires. "You're giving people what Matthew never gave you," he said one afternoon. "Belief, a reason to stand again." Emily smiled softly. Everyone deserves a second chance, even if the world gave up on them. The foundation's first project was a sewing workshop. Emily trained young women who had been abandoned or overlooked, teaching them skills that gave them income and confidence. Their laughter filled the rooms. Each stitch was a declaration. We are not broken. We are rising. Word spread quickly. Neighbors who once whispered pity now praised her courage. Families who benefited from her programs began telling their stories publicly. The press caught wind of it. Blind Woman's Foundation restores families across the city. Anonymous benefactor uplifts forgotten voices. At first, Emily felt nervous about the attention, but Daniel reassured her. This isn't just about you. It's about everyone you've lifted. Let the world see what hope can build. So for the first time, Emily allowed her identity to be revealed. At the foundation's opening ceremony, she stood at the podium, her cane steady in her hand, Daniel at her side. I lost my sight, she told the crowd, her voice trembling but strong. I lost the man I thought would stand by me. But what I found was a deeper vision, one that sees with the heart. We are here to prove that brokenness does not end a life. It begins a legacy. The audience erupted in applause. Some wept openly, inspired by her resilience. The very community that once pitied her now honored her. For Emily, it was more than a foundation. It was redemption. Her pain had birthed something larger than herself, something that would outlive her. But in the back of the crowd, hidden in the shadows, Matthew watched with burning envy. He clenched his fists as he listened to the cheers, the praise, the adoration Emily received. And in his heart, greed whispered, that should have been mine. The applause from Emily's speech still echoed in the hall when Matthew pushed his way to the front. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes wild, but his smile was plastered on like a mask. Cameras turned toward him instantly. Emily, he called, arms stretched wide, as if he were the prodigal husband returning home. My wife, my love, I'm so proud of you. The crowd gasped. Whispers rippled through the room. Isn't that the man who left her? Now he's here, pretending? Emily's chest tightened. Her cane gripped firmly. She lifted her chin. Matthew, she said, her voice calm but cold. Why are you here? He strode up the steps, trying to pull her into an embrace. Daniel quickly stepped between them, protective. Matthew's smile faltered, but he pressed on. I came to apologize, publicly. I was wrong to leave. I was weak. But I've realized you're the love of my life. Please, Emily, let me make it right. Flashes from reporters' cameras filled the stage. Emily's heart pounded, but she steadied herself. She remembered the nights he called her useless, the papers he shoved in her hands, the way he paraded Sophie in front of her. He wasn't here for love. He was here for the spotlight, for the money he suspected was behind her rise. She raised her hand, silencing him. Matthew, you didn't just leave me. You abandoned me when I was blind, broke, and broken. You humiliated me, betrayed me with my own friend, and called me worthless. That isn't weakness. That's cruelty. The crowd murmured in agreement. Matthew's smile cracked. He dropped to his knees dramatically. Emily, please, I was a fool. Forgive me. Take me back. I'll do anything. Gasps filled the hall. Cameras clicked furiously. Emily inhaled deeply. For a moment, the past tugged at her. Memories of devotion, of love she once thought was real. But then she remembered her mother's words. Blindness doesn't erase your worth. She straightened her shoulders. Matthew, I forgive you. Not for you, but for me. Carrying anger is a weight I won't bear anymore. But forgiveness does not mean access. My life has moved on, and you are no longer welcome in it. His face paled. Emily, please. Daniel stepped forward, voice steady. She's given her answer. Respect it. Security, sensing the tension, moved in. The crowd erupted in applause. Not for Matthew, but for Emily's strength. Her voice carried above the noise. This foundation is my safe space, a place for healing, dignity, and second chances. But not for those who abuse trust. Matthew, this door is closed to you forever. The cameras caught every word. The world would see not a blind victim, but a woman who stood unshaken against the man who once broke her. Matthew was escorted out, his head hung low, his pride shattered before the very people he once sought to impress. Emily stood taller, her cane steady. The chapter of his control was closed, firmly, finally. Weeks after the foundation's launch, Emily's life bloomed brighter than she ever imagined. She couldn't see the crowds, but she could hear their applause. She couldn't read the articles, but Daniel read them aloud with pride. From blindness to bravery, Emily Bennett inspires the nation. The woman who turned pain into power. Her days were filled with purpose. She trained women in her sewing workshop, mentored single parents, and welcomed volunteers who longed to be part of her mission. Children laughed in the halls of her center, their joy a living testament that brokenness could indeed birth beauty. She had lost her sight, but gained a vision greater than she'd ever dreamed. One golden afternoon, as she left the foundation office with Daniel at her side, she heard hurried footsteps behind her. A familiar voice, desperate and cracked, called out, "Emily, please, wait!" Her heart recognized it instantly. Matthew. She stopped, cane steady, her posture unshaken. Daniel instinctively moved closer, but Emily raised her hand gently. "It's all right." Matthew stumbled forward, his once proud frame now gaunt, his suit worn and wrinkled. He fell to his knees on the pavement, ignoring the stares of passers-by. I've lost everything," he sobbed. "Sophie left me when the money ran out. My business partners abandoned me. I'm drowning in debt. You're all I have left. Please take me back. I'll change, I swear it." Emily's chest tightened, not from longing, but from the final weight of closure. She remembered every night she cried alone, every cruel word he spoke, every door he slammed in her face, and now here he was, kneeling before her, the world watching. She drew a slow breath. "Matthew, I once begged you to stay. I once believed my worth was tied to your love, but now I see clearer than ever." He clutched her hands desperately. "Please, Em, I can't survive without you." She gently pulled her hands free. "No, Matthew, you can't survive without what I've built. And that's not love. It's greed." His tears fell freely. "So that's it? You're going to abandon me the way I abandoned you?" Emily's voice softened, firm but full of grace. "I won't abandon you, Matthew. I forgive you. But forgiveness is not a welcome mat. My life has moved on. My family is here. Daniel, my team, the people we serve. This is where I belong. Not with you." The crowd around them murmured with awe. A woman who had once been cast aside now stood unshaken, her dignity unbroken. Matthew's shoulders slumped. He realized the truth. He had lost her forever. Not because of blindness, not because of wealth, but because she had found her strength. Emily turned, Daniel guiding her forward. The sunlight warmed her face and she smiled. She couldn't see the path ahead, but she felt it. Bright, vast, and filled with hope. Her story wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about transformation. Pain had birthed purpose. Betrayal had built a legacy. And as Matthew's sobs faded behind her, Emily whispered to herself, "Sometimes the shadow you mock becomes the light you can never escape." The end.